Howdy. Always a bit tricky. How do we start? How are you going, Ramesh? Haven't seen your face for a while. Well, I guess he's not actually there. Well, I was thinking if nobody wants to work on anything, we can work on me. And then I'm looking, what can I bring up that we can work on? And I think, well, do I have to look for suffering? I can't find any. What, what, what would I work on? I don't know. There's got to be something. Must be still some selfing going on somewhere. Maybe just asking the question, have I got something to work on or am I selfing? Is a bit of selfing, is it? I don't know. Hi, Phoebe.
Morning.
Yeah. How's things going with you?
Good, good. A little slower than I'd like, but but I'm fine. I'm good.
Well, that sounds like something I could hook my teeth into. What do you mean slower than you'd like? Do you in a hurry to get somewhere?
I am in a hurry to get this artwork done.
Ah, the artwork, right. So what's it going to be like when it's finished? You won't know what to do with
Uh,
yourself.
part what am hold on a second. Let me put my AirPod in. Yeah. Okay. Can
So
you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah. Yeah. Now my question was, you're in a hurry to get your artwork done, but when it's done, you won't know what to do with yourself. What'll you do then?
Vince, that's not going to be a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
There's always more artwork, visits to the grandkids, visits to my mother. So I put everything on hold for these 2 months while I'm doing this. And it's such a huge luxury. It's just amazing to put myself first, completely first.
Mhm.
And I would say this is the first time in my life I've ever done this with a clear conscience and felt great about it. It's like, oh my God, this is it's so indulgent to not think about anyone else, to not caretake anyone else, to not, it's just, oh my God, it's just fabulous. So I'm loving it.
So are they tell me, or not, are they stories that justify you just doing what's in front of you?
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah.
So when it's being with your grandkids, will you need to justify that as well? Will you say that that will also just feel great because you'll still be just doing what's in front of you, won't you?
For sure with the grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only being present to them. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're in the if they're young, they live in the present, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a video chat with them just before the meeting. So that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you're all good too then. Okay. Everybody's good, just about everybody. What about you, Scott? You still good? You're muted. Can't hear you, Scott. You're muted.
There we go.
Hmm.
Um, I've actually been having some sadness this week.
Is that
I
something you've got to fix?
huh?
Is sadness something you've got to fix?
No, it's not. I'm not trying to. It's coming up kind of along with. Let me just back up for a second. Like I decided to like go to a therapist to kind of just examine some of my childhood trauma. It's free with my uh, Medicare program. So anyway, I we've been working on it, and last Monday was my last appointment, and she kind of guided me to. Anyway, it came up that like most of my family all just like I lost my father and my brother all before I was 20. Anyway, it just kind of came up that like I guess I never really grieved my parents or my brother. And after I had that appointment, there was I was like feeling melancholy. So in the mornings when I get up, I do focusing, or it's kind of a combination of like I do these breathing exercises, and it kind of gets me in a meditative state. And I just, instead of like sitting there meditating for an hour like I used to, I just kind of see where things lead me. And so because of this sadness that seems to be coming from the realization maybe I never grieved my family members' deaths, I just allow it. Like I tried to like revisit it, try to bring up the feelings. First few days, there was some movement. I was getting some feelings in areas down lower where I normally don't. And then, but not a whole lot of movement. So I just, revisit it every morning for just a half an hour. And I think it was yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before. I don't know, that I kind of was focused on my mother came up, and when she died, I was an adult. I took care of her for about a year. She was in hospice, and when that period of time kind of came up for me, I don't know what happened. It was kind of like I was drawn back to the house, and I was drawn back to the room where she died, and drawn back to that moment. I was there. Like I don't remember if I was touching her or not, but I was just sitting right there when she took her last breath. And I don't know what, like, I don't know if I fabricated this or made it up or what, but it just kind of like all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, I just imagined her dying, and then it was like remembered her dying, and it was almost, I just kind of felt as if I could visualize her beingness just being in the room,
Yep.
And it's a little confusing to me because the memory of it, even though it was just the other day, is a little mixed up, because when I kind of got up from my sitting, I went in and started doing some core exercises before going to the gym, and I was listening to music, and as I went in there to do that, like she was with me, and it's like I could this vision, maybe, I don't know, this vision of like her beingness and my beingness just being like free from bodies, and
So what was the feeling? How were you feeling about that at the time?
elated.
Yeah.
I was elated. We were at one point we were like dancing, and like I used to do some ballroom dancing, some swing dancing and stuff, and we were dancing, and I was like spinning her around, and we were like flowing in and out of each other, like. And there was like this feeling of love that I've never had when she was alive or with any of my family. It was just, it felt like all the barriers, that we put up between ourselves, were not there. They were missing, and we could actually experience each other without words. There was no words. It was just, just.
So you weren't trying to make sense of it. You were just in it, just feeling it.
I was loving it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Right.
I was kind of surprised that she seemed to follow me,
Yeah.
And then went to the gym, and not as prominent, but she was there with me there at the gym too. Kind of like seemed like she was just kind of hanging around, watching me work out,
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just
nothing to know.
Huh?
Nothing to know. Sounds really beautiful to me, but yeah, don't try and make sense of it. Don't try and work it out. That's only a way of avoiding it. Yeah, no, that sounds really great, really nice. And that love that you felt, that was pretty overwhelming, eh?
Yeah, it was amazing, and not just because it wasn't like how do I put it? Even though I was aware, or seemed to be aware, that like it was, the essence was somehow related to my mother, the feeling, I'm going to call it love, whatever it was, the feeling, it was obvious to me that it was not just, it wasn't a feeling of me to my mother.
Yep, I get it.
It was just, I could tell that it was inside everybody, maybe everything, I don't know, but I could tell that it's waiting, it's inside at least every person, I don't know.
Now what about this one? This is a weird one. Was there a sweet, loving, really sweet, loving sadness involved with it? I don't mean sad. I mean sad joy, sad.
I can't tell the difference between them anymore. It doesn't seem like there's a difference between being sad and being joyful. It's like,
it
doesn't really seem like there's much difference.
Yep. Well, there isn't. I don't think there is. Yeah. It's just like a welling up of emotion as an expression of something beyond words. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit like what you're feeling now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the experience yesterday, I kind of sat today, and my ego's like, well, let's try the next one. Let's try who died. Who was the next one? I'm going back in time. Who's the next one who died? Oh, that was my brother. I sit with that and like, nothing's happening.
Yeah, well, you got to, look, you didn't conjure that up with Mum. That that visited you. You didn't call it. So,
It sure seems like it. Like that's not me. Like the old Scott, whoever that was.
Yeah, oh, he's gone. Yeah.
He wasn't the type to like think up stories like that and have imaginary.
Well, he was a fabrication anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds beautiful. And being open to whatever turns up is just so lovely. Yeah. Oh, boy, thank you for that. Boy, you've just Yeah, that opens my heart up just to hear that. That's lovely. Yeah. When we live up on that societal level, that conceptual, unreal world, we're almost compelled to try and make sense and explain and describe that in terms that just are impossible, absolutely impossible. Yeah. It's recognizing that's really a whole world of existence just beneath words, beneath language. Yeah. Beautiful. Mm. I know you've told me your name, iPhone, but I've forgotten what it is.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. It's Ria.
Ria. Ah, it is. Oh, you're Ria. Hi, Ria.
Ria.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you turn your phone on the side, you'll get a bigger picture, right?
Oh,
And now you can swipe screens left to right and see a whole different variety of things.
can you see me better?
Yeah, your bigger picture now. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So, how am I feeling?
Yes.
So, I'm feeling amazing today. And it started last night. So I'm going to go back a little bit into a bit of story. I split up with my husband many years ago and lived alone for 9 years and found it I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sanctuary of my own space and was very happy to be there alone. Anyway, I've been in a relationship now for 7 years and I moved away from the UK, so I'm now living in Europe. And I've noticed over the time there's this feeling of restlessness when he's out at night and a very much sense of loneliness and maybe even some self-pity when he goes away for the weekend and I'm here alone. And he's away now for the next 3 weekends, and I could feel this feeling coming, this feeling of dread and what am I going to do? Anyway, I was riding my bike home from the sauna house yesterday night, and I don't know where it came from, but I just thought, I don't know, like whether this happens, I'm not gonna plan it, but the intention is that I am gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna go out, and I've booked a cinema ticket for next Saturday night. I'm gonna go for dinner with myself. It was just this flip of from dread to excitement started to arise, and this feeling of, yeah, it's the dread just went. I don't know where it went, and this other feeling is now present, which is love. I don't know where it came from, but it feels good to have it here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you think the relationship is between that and the previous feeling, the feeling of loneliness and dread? Did one drive the other out? Did one replace the other one? Did one morph into the other one? How are they associated? Do you think? First thing that comes to mind.
I, I, it was just a change of mind. It was just a change of perception. So it's a really difficult question, Vince.
Yeah, sure. Okay, no worries. How did you discover that change in perception? I mean, I get that and I like that. It sounds good, So suddenly something triggered a change of perception, or something internally or something externally triggered it, or what?
Well, I don't want to say it was a what if I actually enjoyed this time instead of all of the stories of how it feels to be by myself and alone.
Yeah, right.
I just dropped the stories.
Yeah. Well, you changed the stories.
Yeah.
Changed them
Yeah.
from the negatives, and you had stories about potential, positive, good stuff.
It's been coming for the last since being with you last weekend, and being in the group with Shemaine, learning very slowly how to be present with what is within me, which it's new for me. That it really is new for me, and I think it's came from that. It's really meeting myself,
Yeah,
for the first time, and not liking her, actually it's really nice to meet her.
great.
And to be with her.
Just tilt your phone up a little bit for me. I can only see the bottom part of your face. No, put it back around, but just tilt. That's better. Yes, just so I can see your whole face. Yeah, great. So that sounds good. So maybe at the last meeting, or maybe even before that, a seed got planted and it started to sprout.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah. Oh, it sounds great. I just love it when people discover themselves. Yeah. Their true potential. Yeah.
I'm buzzing.
Great. Good one. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do it. Yeah, you did it. Great. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh God, we're full of great stories tonight, isn't it? Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Give us a downer, Dennis. Things have not been so good for you, have they? How's things with the 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 aftermath of your brother-in-law dying? That would have been pretty heavy.
Yeah, yeah, it was a shock the other night. I didn't sleep much that night, and then you guys were on early, so I just came on to listen, just to kind of a little bit of comfort, I suppose, was what it amounted to for me. But I suppose when death occurs, it's always a wake-up call, isn't it? It's an opportunity to kind of look at your own business and what you're doing and how you are and the fragility of life and how quick it can be for others. I was listening to Scott talk there, and I wanted to mention a poem called Death of the Beloved. It's by John O'Donoghue. You might like to look it up, Scott, in your own time and read it. That sort of grieving of people gone. Because I would do that from time to time, and sometimes you find it hard to kind of be emotional or cry, but I find poetry, when I do look at it, is a great mechanism for just taking the lid off something. The way the words are weaved, and that's a really lovely poem, "Death of the Beloved." So just I wanted to say that, just Scott, you might have a look at it if you're drawn to. Um, and I was actually reading that poem myself yesterday a couple of times. That kind of helped with the grieving process. When you lose somebody you've kind of, you've known for 20, 30 years and hung around with and did things together. And even if over the last few years there was a bit more distance between us and wouldn't have seen him that often, but I did see him a month ago. Um, yeah. So it's funny though, Vince, even in work that day and being very busy in a new job, and thoughts came, oh, I should be grieving, I should be at home, or I should be miserable or whatever. But I wasn't. And it was like, without thinking about it, there's no issue, there's no problem,
Right.
there's no death, there's no loss.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all made up, and that doesn't mean when I'm at the funeral at some point next week and there's readings and there's gatherings that it won't all be emotional and sad, and emotions will come, and that'll all be natural as part of that process. But yeah, so
Some of you may have heard me mention this one before, but it's a good one, and that was that only about a month after I woke up, my sister-in-law died, and she was a really good friend of mine. She was just a lovely person, and even today I choke up when I think of her. But I discovered that there was no grief. The grief was the stories about how it shouldn't have happened and how wrong it was and all of that stuff. But there was incredible sadness. But just like I was trying to kind of hint to Scott a bit earlier, that sadness was lovely and sweet and really a beautiful expression of, and it wasn't an expression of loss. It was an expression of connection, but the connection
love.
was extra sweet because of the fact that they're not around physically anymore. Um, it's like we can appreciate something when they're not here that we could never appreciate when they are here. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know how to
definitely.
describe it, but yeah. But
I can resonate with that, Vince.
yeah, great.
20 years ago when my brother died, like working with emotions and how you felt, and ultimately all those sad tears, grieving, it's all just an expression of love. That's
Yeah,
it. When you're grieving,
right.
you're in love.
Yeah, yeah. Of course,
But
it's a
I'm
little bit
still doing.
how you express it, because society has certain expectations. Other people who don't appreciate it at this level have certain expectations, and they draw their conclusions that can have consequences. So, it's always a little bit tricky, but
Yeah, all the shoulds and shouldn'ts, and should have been and should have done that, and should have, and I was even experiencing that last night in a conversation with some friends who knew him. They were all shoulding and shouldn't and this and that, and I'm like, he lived his life, he lived it to the best of his ability, and you know, he's now passed. There's no mistakes. It's not he shouldn't have, he should have had 30 more years. That's just tying everyone else up in knots for years. And then spreading that shouldn't to the family, to his children, just creates more grief, more hurt. And people have gone for 30, 40, 50 years with shoulds and shouldn't. And the pain that brings every day, instead
yeah,
of going, no, he lived his life perfect. He did his best. Nothing should have been any different. And even my interactions with him and my relationship couldn't and shouldn't have been any different. And
yeah,
now he's left me with this lovely gift of death that
yes,
can have a profound effect on you if you let it.
yep,
The
absolutely
final gift to us.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, it is a gift to us. Absolutely a gift. Yeah,
Yeah. Then with my practice at the minute, I'm just kind of feeling into sensations and feeling into myself and allowing labels to be stripped off and just doing that work that everybody seems to be guiding me towards at the minute.
Yeah, great. That's where discovery is, when we can drop the mental chatter about what's going on and just experience it. It's discovery happens. Yeah.
I've noticed lately when I wake up in the morning, because I remember saying to you before about waking up and just feeling really uncomfortable in my body, and it's just an angst or a desire to get away. And I've noticed lately waking up, I'm more embodied and more in my body, feeling comfortable and relaxed, and that's nice to see that, to feel that.
Right. Yeah, that sounds good too.
Man, I love this space Dennis is in. Like, it's the first time I hear him speak about all the shit going on in his life, and there's no resistance to any of it, no matter how bad someone from the outside might think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just what is, Tyler. Yeah, it's just what is.
And there's definitely an aura of calmness about you, of tranquility, of peace, that, even though you're often still, it's like there's tension before, but now there doesn't appear to be that. It's my story, but I like it. It looks pretty good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, the way I would describe it, and it's something I was doing earlier. Actually, I met Alan earlier on, and there was a sense of, I was noticing that when I'm engaging in the world or with people, it's like I'm moving out of myself or stretching out of myself to attend or to engage. And there's an efforting. And as I noticed it, it's like I'm falling back in on myself more and more, just to be fully in myself and to rest here and to be able to notice that I can move from here without any effort
Mm.
and that it's okay. So it's like the releasing of a sort of a tension that I need to, this sort of tension in being versus just, no, if I just sit back and fall back into myself fully so that I'm on the floor and I can move from here. There's a solidity to it. And that's what I'm noticing. And that might be what kind of you're sensing, that kind of calmness. It feels like I'm moving from my home. I'm at home and I'm moving from there instead of coming out to try to be tense and yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but
That's
that's what
absolutely
it feels
love
like.
it. Yeah, yeah. It is really good. I don't know if it's a song lyric that comes to mind, but it's something about being the breeze. I get it. Yeah. There's no need to fit
Remember,
yourself into a person kind of thing. You can just be whatever
yeah,
wants
just to
to.
be here.
Yeah.
I'm resisting the urge to go into story and start talking about all the usual
Yeah.
shite.
Mm.
That itself is the movement away from yourself. Oh, I'm sick and I have to go try this. Can we talk about that? Yeah, oh, I can't. I just that's the very movement away from
Yeah. Absolutely.
rest.
Mm.
Oh God. This is so good tonight. How are you, Ramesh? I feel
Did
like
you say Louise? Vince?
no, I said rum is.
No worries.
We'll wait till you finish driving and talk to you or whatever. Yeah. I haven't seen Rummies for a long time, and I've missed you. Feel yeah. How are you?
I don't know what to say.
Well, that's okay. Is that because how you are is too complex to put into words?
There's sensations that feels like pressure.
Where are they?
It's in my throat and going up to my head.
So is that pressure pushing outwards or pushing inwards?
It's I don't know, just in my head. It's like swirling, moving. When it's in my head more, it feels kind of empowering. When it goes down to my throat, it feels like suffocating.
And is it up and down? Is it go from one to the other and back again, or is it staying in one for a while and then moving?
Um, it changed. Trying to find like a pattern because it seems like it responds to maybe thoughts or what's happening. And I feel like I'm trying to pay attention to keep it in my head.
So when it's in your head, is it engaging with thought?
No, it's no, not necessarily.
Mm-hmm. So where does the sense of power come from when it's in your head? What does that sense of power feel like? Does it feel like control? Or something else?
It's like a charge of energy.
Okay.
Maybe anger.
Okay. Yeah. And when it goes down to your throat, does it feel like the same energy but with a lid on it?
Maybe. Yeah, it's like something blocks the flow of the energy.
Yep. So if it wanted to come out, this is just a fantasy. If it wanted to come out, would it need to go down from your head to your throat and then back up out of your mouth? How would it get out if it wanted to come out?
It doesn't feel like it has an exit.
Right. Does it feel like it wants to have an exit and just there isn't one? Or does it not even want to get out?
It wants to get out.
But if it could come out, could only come out as anger?
Sometimes um, there are crying and tears, but I'm not sure if it's the same energy.
Yep. So those tears, that crying, is that a crying of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, are they, is it, what's the flavor of the crying and the tears? Is it frustration? Is it, is it uh, sadness? Is it, I don't imagine for a moment that it's joy. What's the flavor of the tears and the crying?
It's fear,
Fear. Okay, yeah. So that's that,
loneliness.
and loneliness, did you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's big, isn't it? So while you're feeling the energy, that movement between your head and your throat, that that charge, do you feel that loneliness at the same time, or does it mask the loneliness so it's not obvious when that's there?
Sometimes it's mixed of different feelings. And it changes fast.
Did you say fast?
It's very fluid.
Can you see a connection to thoughts with this energy? Does it come from them? Does it go towards them? Are they at all associated with it?
There's a pattern of thoughts I noticed. Um, Seeing people as noticing when people act in a way that is not self-loving, or it's like self-denial, people-pleasing, and it fills you with rage.
So inauthentic, would that describe it?
I don't know. I didn't thought about it as inauthentic. It just it felt stupid, and
Yep. Would you say that's what gives birth to suffering?
sometimes the questions feels too heady that I don't don't wanna bother thinking about it.
Okay. But this is what you're seeing in other people, not in yourself. Is that right?
It's in me as well,
Okay.
but it's so obvious in other people.
So that judgment that it's stupid, is that stronger when you apply it to yourself or when you apply it to other people? Or maybe the same.
I don't know, I just feel this energy of just stop doing that.
I just missed a bit of what you said then. You just feel this energy of what doing that?
Stop.
Stop doing that. Right. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So again, is that directed at yourself or at other people? Or both?
Both.
So do you think the anger is associated with that? That energy in you?
I think so.
But although there's that part of you that screams out to stop doing that, it doesn't stop, does it? It keeps on happening.
For me,
Somewhere, for you or for others, or both.
sometimes I go to the other extreme, like of pushing people away, feeling resentful.
So what triggers that? What triggers you to do that, to push others away and feel resentful? Is it something they say or do, or something in you? Well, something in you maybe gets triggered by something they say or do. I don't know. What what precipitates that happening?
When I feel like I need something,
And what is that something that you feel like you might need?
doesn't matter anything.
Right, right. It's kind of interesting that when you feel like you need something, you push others away and cut off. it's like, do you anticipate that you're not going to get it and you push them away even before you get refused or before you don't get it?
I don't know what I'm trying to protect myself from,
Mm. Mm.
because whatever I imagine, I find myself, or I'm already feeling that way. Like, what's gonna happen? Abandoned? Or I already feel abandoned.
So when you want something from others and you push them away, you push them away so that you're not going to feel abandoned by them, but you are already abandoned, feeling abandoned. Does that seem right?
Yeah.
So that's easier to live with than if you pull them into you and then they abandon you. That would be worse than what you're already feeling.
I'm not sure. The thought I'm having is maybe I'm scared to feel angry.
Mm.
But the belief I have is just I don't have the right to feel angry.
So even if you feel angry, you definitely aren't allowed to show that. You have to always keep it hidden.
maybe Ramez, you don't have the right to suppress it.
I don't feel like I'm doing it.
And can I ask you why? Why have you abandoned yourself? What do you need?
I have no response for this question.
What do you want?
Do people stop asking questions?
Why?
We're asking the questions, Ramez, because we care about you.
It sounds extremely isolated and lonely for you, Ramez. It sounds like you're trapped with this anger and these judgments.
I want to lay down, so I'm gonna turn off the camera. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Every one of us has an experience that provokes. Oh, get some selfing going in me. Boy, I just want to fix. I just really want to Oh,
That's Vince, that's exactly what was coming to mind a second ago, like the assumption that there's something wrong with Ramez and we need to help him resolve it. But what if there's nothing wrong?
yeah, well, I get lost in that question. I mean, then I start thinking about what's wrong and what's not wrong, and the whole idea of the conceptual nature of that. But yeah, there is that projection on my part that there is suffering there, and that may not be accurate. It may not be suffering at all. Just seems like it to me, and that's what I relate to.
I remember Ajay Shanti saying, be very careful of trying to take away someone else's suffering.
Yeah.
You could be taking the very thing that they need to wake up.
Yep. And of course, what I want to take away from Ramiz is really what I want to take away from myself. Which kind of doesn't make sense, but it must be. It must be that.
Is it in some way like still a wishing for something to be different? I don't know. Like even if it's suffering, which can seem like really difficult to watch, or we resonate with it. And there's still something wants it to be different, like even suffering.
Hmm.
And we don't know. I don't know. I get it, Vince. Like I totally get it. I have that same selfing thing as well with wanting to fix or help.
Mm.
Yeah. The very
But he's
desire to fix is telling the other there's something wrong, there's something not right. And that's the message that we get with that.
Yesterday, a poem came back to me. I remember it. A poem, In the Desert by Stephen Crane. It's very short. So I will read it. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered, "but I like it, because it is bitter, and because it is my heart." It describes what I feel so well.
Yeah, I love that word bitter. I haven't heard it in years. When it comes to the heart.
Hmm.
Scott, I read your LU thread. Nice. How are you feeling now?
Or did you say Scott?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, um, I feel like there's an undulation, like in life, and things are like kind of happening within like a certain amplitude, maybe. I don't know what other word to use. And as I interact, with others and just kind of my body goes about doing stuff, I will, especially with language, we use that word I all the time and really can't communicate without using it. So sometimes I feel like I'm not sure, like I'll go, oh, it looks like maybe I think there's an I, I think like there's a me. And sometimes I do have to pull back and look again and kind of go over some of the things that became clear. Like it feels like it's not automatic. It feels like sometimes I forget about it. Maybe. Although I never really, I used to just, all I cared about was just reading more stuff and trying the next technique that might wake me up. And I just don't even have that anymore. So that's one thing that just kind of just has not changed at all. I just don't feel like I have to try really. I keep using that word, but that's the thing I notice the most is like I just don't feel like I got to try. Like it's not like nothing's different. I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to try. And yet here I go. I get on these 3-hour meetings twice a week and listen to Renella and I do all that stuff. Like, but I just no efforting, I guess, or very little. So kind of I think a lot of us are awake and we don't even know it. Like I just get this feeling like one of the reasons why I felt like I wasn't awake to begin with was that I just, Scott, that self, first of all, didn't deserve to be awake. Second of all, does not have the ability to be awake. And third of all, is certainly not going to wake up because it's failed at everything else in Scott's life. So I think where a lot of us are awake already, or at least, yeah, there's a wisdom. Dennis, I think you're totally awake. I think you're fooling yourself.
I was just dying to ask you the question, Scott. How did you get to the point where you're, because I'm desiring it when I hear it. You don't try anymore, and I still feel like I'm trying, I'm seeking, I'm searching, and something's changed for you. Now I have the desire to know what's changed for you.
This might sound like a deflection, but a few minutes ago, you were saying how you were sitting there and you fell in on yourself and the efforting was not there. You're there. Stay there. That's my viewpoint.
And when you stayed there, was there some recognition eventually, or some shift, or some falling away?
It was during James. James was my guide, and after some of the different exercises, I could feel like at a certain point, as I was going through some of these exercises, I could feel that there was something happening, but I couldn't really tell you what it was. But it seemed like it keyed in on recognizing that there is no control. Like, it seemed like once that was proved to me, like, that we don't really control anything, even what we do, or like touching or no, whatever. Once I realized you can't control anything, it kind of went along with, well, if I can't control anything, then there's no need to try. There's no need to feel guilty. There's no need to make a decision. Like,
oh yeah, a lot goes away with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's no responsibility. Like, all the shit that I felt guilty about was like, guess what? I didn't control it anyway. So how on earth could I even convince myself that I should feel guilty about it? It kind of like the control thing, that was the key for me, was like, here I am talking in the past tense, like something happened. Nothing really happened. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I can't really describe it. Like, I never, I'm not walking around like no honeymoon. I'm not relaxed and happy and butterflies and shit like that. No, I don't have any of that. Like, I just totally noticed that I'm not like opening my eyes in the morning going, oh, I got to get out there and start meditating. I got to get out there and start listening to some videos. I got to get out there and, even the focusing I do every morning is just like, I just get up and I use my breathing exercises to just kind of start my day and then kind of let it go from there. I try to, like, the conscious thing I keep trying to tell myself, like, I keep trying to bring back into focus. If I feel like I'm maybe trying to pick up the reins, take control or something, I just like remember that all I got to do is let my body do everything. Like, I don't need to decide what I'm going to do next. I don't need to decide what's going to happen next. I don't need to even try. All I got to do is just let my body do it. And that's how I try to keep my hands off it.
So it seems to me, Dennis, that Scott just described a whole lot of things that you described earlier on. And the only difference is that he had a story hanging off it about what it meant, and you don't. That's the only difference between you two. You're having the same experiences, or your version of those experiences. You know, you're waking up in the morning and not feeling like you've got to put on a dentist suit at the moment. And you're experiencing that thing about control. You're experiencing all those same things that he just described, except he sees the ramifications of that. And
Yeah, his story seemed more interesting and more profound, and I forgot what I said.
yeah. But your story
My
probably sounds more interesting to him too. See, this is the other thing too. So one of the things that Scott just described to you that you're possibly missing, probably missing, is that there's no such thing as waking up. There's no finish line to go through. There's no tape to break. There's no actual anything that you can say, well, this is it. There is just a point where seeking gets dropped and discovering or curiosity becomes the normal. So instead of looking for something, you start looking at what life offers. Just a slight difference in perspective. And that's not, it doesn't, it's, I don't know. Anyway, I give up.
Yeah, no, but like when it was lovely to listen to Scott talk because there was an aroma or a sense around what he was saying that there was a slight desire for, because there's such ingrained, looking back on 20 years of seeking and, Adja being my main teacher, and this fundamental idea that there's an initial awakening of sorts, and then there's a final liberation, or no self or non-dual, and then there's more, and there's always more, but there's fundamental, recognizable changes that quote unquote teachers speak from. And I'm just me. I've always been me with my suffering and my problems and all the stuff that caused me to seek. And nothing's changed.
Well, nothing's changed here either. But everything is different.
Yeah, I'm experiencing more or less the same thing. It's like I can see that there is still kind of a searching behavior going on, although it seems pretty clear that there is nothing to find or that it's going nowhere. That if it was found, I mean, for example, if I was liberated, then I would feel like, can I be a bit more liberated? So like it would still go on like that. But then I think there was this kind of misunderstanding that I thought I could actively stop somehow like this searching. And that was, I came to understand that it's not possible because it's like a conditioning, and it was like constructed over many years of my life. So it's not going to disappear just like this. But somehow I do trust in the seeing of it being the, yeah, being able to to transform it somehow, or even I can feel that this, let's call it searching energy, is already much less than before, or it's like much slower. It's not the same intensity anymore, but yeah, instead of being in a conflict with a self-image of Leonard who is not searching anymore, it doesn't really make any sense. So I just accept it. Okay, so the search goes on. I don't have any control about it anyway. So eventually it will stop sometime, or maybe not. I don't know.
So what comes up for me here now is that I'll bet you that for 90% of your waking time, there's no thought of searching. That the whole idea of searching is something that just occurs to you and you overlay it with memory, overlay it on something. But a lot of the time there is no searching, I'll bet.
Yeah, I can only say about myself that I'm pretty clear that the unwanted emotion that is like predominant is like, it's boredom. But well, that's the label. It's kind of not that, yeah, easy for me to access what is below or that or underlying that. But then also I know I can't dig, it's not, I can't do anything. It will like eventually break through maybe, but
Yeah. It'll work itself out. Yeah.
it's okay. And then I don't blame myself for trying to escape boredom sometimes. It's also something I can't really do anything about. So, yeah, but I guess like all of those things that have to do with this searching mechanism are like to avoid this kind of boredom. And maybe it's also like, I think we talked about this with David recently, that sometimes it has to do with an overstimulation in the past, and then somehow, I don't know, maybe your mind is just used to always getting new information and new stuff and so on, and then it's kind of, it feels for a while like a desert, that there's nothing happening. And yeah, because it's true, mm, when I accept this boredom and I tune more into it, I actually discover a lot of interesting things, like details, and
Yeah.
it might not feel that pleasant either, but there is an abundance of things within this boredom. So,
And it occurs to me that a lot of the what how to put it, one of the issues is that where all that activity is that is going on is in a place that where it can't be described or communicated even to ourselves. Like when Bianca read that poem, that evoked a large amount of emotion here that I couldn't put my finger on. I couldn't see what it was. And the thought occurred to me, I am so glad I'm not in school and I'm having to analyze that, what it meant, because I had no idea what it meant. I just had all these mixture of feelings came up, huge feelings, and I couldn't tell you what one of them was. They were so complex, and they were so mixed up with each other. There was all sorts of feelings. But the idea of having to describe it or communicate it was just beyond. It was because it all happened beneath the normal social level. And so that may be an issue. Maybe we get a bit addicted to being able to describe and explain what it is that what's going on for us. And then when we can't, it becomes a bit of an issue, but where it doesn't actually need to be an issue. We don't have to describe. To experience it, we can experience it without being able to put labels on it. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's funny. I also had like a moment with a poem today, and it's like it's in German, but more or less, it is called "What It Is," and then it had like the nice, for example, it's nonsense, says rationality. It is what it is, says love. And there are other examples like caution says it's crazy, and yeah, and it always comes back to this point. It is what it is, says love. And then today, yeah, I don't know this. I always have my my moments in nature with the water around myself, and then somehow just a thought popped up, and I thought, this is unconditional love. It's just like the water doesn't ask anything for it, so, or nature maybe, I don't know. Well, it's also a story, but then I thought, for example, when people say, this person really loves life, then usually we think this person has a lot of plans and wants to do a lot of things and stuff like that. When I kind of thought, no, actually, it's rather not that kind of love that I have towards life. It's just rather, yeah, I don't know, being curious to experience the good things and the bad things as well. I mean, those things that don't feel pleasant. It was like very strange because when I quit drinking alcohol and taking drugs, it felt so right for me because it allowed me to really feel all my emotions that I had usually like get rid of by drinking. And then all the other people around me thought like, ah, he's in such a bad mood. Why doesn't he drink a glass of wine again? And then it's so difficult to tell other people that that's really the best thing you can do, because it doesn't really look cheerful, but actually it is the best, for me at least, it's the best thing you can do. And that's also about welcoming all the shit that comes up.
Yep.
And Leonard, can I ask you, because you said a couple of things that stuck out to me. Did you stop drinking, or did drinking stopping just happen?
Yeah, it felt like a decision, but actually it was not, because I had a relapse, and then it was so clear, like for my body and also for like emotionally, that it was like, no, I don't want that anymore, or I just can't anymore. So yeah, I would say drinking just stopped at some point. But maybe it felt like I did it because I tried it several times, but
yeah. And you said something at the start. You kind of said that there's nothing to find. And I wanted to take issue with that because it was like, well, do you know there's nothing to find? Or are you believing there's nothing to find? Because for me, it's kind of a disappointment that there would be nothing to find.
Yeah, okay. When I say there's nothing to find, then I'm referring to my personal searching mechanisms, for example. And that used to be like, I don't know, getting drunk, falling in love, having affairs and stuff like that. And I didn't ever find anything that would have given me the feeling to be fulfilled or something. And that's what I was wishing for. That's what I mean when I say there is nothing. Well, maybe not nothing, but not fulfillment or not satisfaction or not. Yeah, actually, I think when I started the spiritual search, it was actually nearly the same thing because I was searching for this state of permanent okayness, you know, that you will be on a pink cloud forever and say all the time. And I guess a lot of people here had this period, and
Yeah.
I'm quite sure it's not possible to find that either. I don't know. Maybe there are some guys on this planet who reached this state and are still there, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
Sorry,
haven't.
taking notes
But
again.
Say that again.
Are you taking notes again?
That might be why.
Why would it why would it be a disappointment that there's nothing to find?
It kind
I,
of. I
yeah,
want to say because then but then this is just it, and yeah, and sure I added the label, and this can be kind of shitty. Uh,
Is it because this isn't good enough?
yeah, I'd say yeah, that's definitely in there. Yeah,
Dennis, you say it would be a disappointment if there's nothing to find, but do you know what you're looking for? There isn't anything that you don't already have. There isn't anything that isn't already here. You know, all you have is you listen to Scott and Leonard talk about their experiences, and then what you have is your imagination of how their experience is, and then an assumption of how nice it must be, and then the wanting of that experience, right? But you don't actually want that experience because that experience doesn't exist for you and me. That experience only exists as an idea, right? There isn't an actual thing out there that you can get. Everything that there is already here, either in your senses or as an idea. You just want to not want. You're trying to not try.
yeah, that kind of hurts my head a bit.
You can't not try, and you can't try. You can't want or not want.
I just had a story occur to me, and the story goes like this. There's this fish swimming around in the ocean doing what fish does. It's looking for food and it's doing all these fishy things and swimming around. And it swims along and it sees this guru fish sitting on a rock. And it goes up to the guru and says, hello. And the guru whispers and says, look for the water. Look for the water. And the fish goes off going, oh, Jesus, I'm missing out on something. I've got to find the water. And it spends the rest of its life looking for the water, feeling most unsatisfied. And I feel like you're that fish looking for the water.
Yeah, the word betrayal comes up now. There's a huge sense of betrayal for listening to people telling me
Absolutely.
how to
I get that one.
find happiness or find peace or find enlightenment.
Yes.
It's like, okay, they were lying. They may have been lying for a good reason, but there's no honesty in this. That you find yourself potentially somewhere awake, but
yep, for sure, yeah.
That's
it's
fine.
not what you signed up for.
Yeah, you signed up for eternal bliss and forever being okay. But you can't, it's not here. How can you get it if it's not here? How can you get anything that isn't here?
Yeah, I still think you're all lying to me, though.
About there being nothing to find?
Yeah, or that the awakened state won't have positive aspects to it that ordinarily are covered over in ordinary mundane life.
It's not. It's not what there is, it's what there isn't. It's like, I don't have anything that you don't have, but you have the idea that this isn't good enough.
Now, my idea is this. It's sort of, you're trying to tell me to stop, to see that this is all there is. And I think that, yeah, you're saying that, so when I realize it, I'll realize there actually is more to it, but you needed to say that to me to get me to stop to realize there's more. So I'm back to wanting to know.
You don't want to know. You want to know that you know.
That feels like a double knowing.
Well, you do know. You just don't know that you know. That's the way I see it. Yeah, I tell this story. Look, everything comes down to stories, right? You there's no getting away from the fact that stories run our life. We respond to stories from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, and probably afterwards. But nevertheless, there are stories going on all day. Now, the person that's not awake takes a whole lot of those stories to be actual, doesn't recognize them as stories, right? The person that's awake, recognizes that he used to believe a lot of those stories were actual, but now recognizes them as stories. So that what that does is it transforms a whole lot of delusions into illusions, right? They still seem like they're real, but now we know they're not. We know they're stories, right? So it's all a case of everything is about stories. Now, the person who thinks they're not awake doesn't smell the roses. They've got no idea. They're too busy. They're too busy trying to look good for the person next to them or whatever it is to stop and smell the flower, right? But the person who's awake goes, I don't give about that. I don't give a fuck about that shit. I'm here, I'm going to smell the flower. That's the difference. So it's the story that you respond to. So the person that's awake responding to a different story than the person who thinks they're not awake. So all it is about is perspective. That's all. Does that make sense? Does to me.
Yeah, it's bringing up that anger again that I've gone along with so much bullshit. Like even practices like there's no body, there's what, nothing is real. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, well, that's reality. That's what we live in that world. I still live in that world. I still live in a world where people think all sorts of shit is real that I know is not. I still see people suffering over all sorts of things that they don't need to suffer over, but they do, and I can't fix it for them. But so all that stuff is still there. It just
no, I don't mean that stuff. That's more obvious. I mean like simple things like that, like that I'm not somebody or that I'm not a body or that things aren't real, like the room I'm in and the objects. And I don't know any of that shit. Like, so you hear people talk about this stuff all the time. And so you think, oh, well, maybe when I'm awake, I'll see the way they see the world or that there is no world. And I'm like, I don't see any of that shit.
no. Well,
So,
until, and then you'll see your version. It won't be the same as anybody else's anyway. Everybody sees the world. Everybody sees the world according to their own perspective, their own filters.
I think that sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I think that seeking is a way to avoid what is.
yes.
Especially to avoid feeling our feelings. And what is this moment. And this moment is enlightenment. When you don't want to go away from here. It seems to me that way. And I also wanted to talk to Ramiz a little, if he's still here. Pernilla has this Awakening Curriculum YouTube channel and website, and she talks about childhood trauma quite a lot. And under the second fetter, she talks about the fight, flight, or freeze responses to childhood trauma. It seems to me that maybe Ramiz's response is freeze, and maybe you could check that under that title. That's all.
Dennis, when we tell you this, and then you say you feel stuff like betrayal and anger, and it isn't the first time we're telling you this, and you felt these things, what do you do afterwards? Do you go and feel those things, or do you go and check your notes? Do your homework?
No, like as they come up now, I'm feeling them. I'm giving space for them, and because this feels like the work to be doing, and that's why I'm being confrontation or challenging to ask things, because I want to just really see what's here instead of just going along with things to appear a certain way. So I say something, you guys respond, I get annoyed, and I get annoyed, and That's okay too.
But we aren't saying anything inherently annoying.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know you're causing a deconstruction of my belief scaffolding and system that's there. Whatever's still there is being questioned and tore down bit by bit.
Yeah, but you don't have to tell yourself that story either. And the thing you said about awakened people saying the world isn't real and whatever, they don't actually know that. If you come across a teacher or a guru who claims they know something with absolute certainty, yeah, it's not about what they know that you will know. It's like maybe you believe the world is real, and I don't know if it is. You just got extra baggage.
Yeah, I don't even know what I am that's believing or not believing. My LU title is I have a pain in my face and I'm going home.
Hi, Dennis. Can I say
How you
something?
doing?
All good. I'm sorry for your brother, man. Very sorry.
Thanks.
For me, it's like Scott said, that as I see you, you are there, but you lack of confidence to believe you are there. Most of the things you say, it's really into the point, but then first you expect something more, and then you don't trust that this is it. In my experience, that it's similar like Scott, it was very, very, very gradual and still is. I'm not in a specific place. There is no fireworks, but the moment that I got bored of seeking and analyzing every simple thing, so the moment I relaxed, then day by day it was more and more, okay, this is it. That's just another thought of seeking. So just relax, don't overanalyze it. I think you are there, just observe the why you are not confident. You are there. I don't know, this is how I see it. Because the most important thing, do you think you have control of your decisions or your thoughts?
No, the thoughts are automatic. Decisions are made.
So you're not
There's
in
still,
control of your thoughts.
there's still a sense of unsatisfactoriness to everything.
So what if, let's put it this way. the moment you genuinely experience the feeling, not the thought, the feeling that this is it, at that moment, your perspective will change. Now that may only last for 3 seconds. And if it does, you'll probably miss it. You won't even notice that happened for you. So one of the things that you may be carrying is this idea that when it happens, it will be permanent. It will be always there.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, it's not. For most people, when it happens, along will come doubt. And people will often get confused about that doubt. They'll think that the doubt is about whether they've seen through the delusion of an existing self. But the reality is that it's not that at all. They know that there's no self there. The doubt is about whether they're awake or not. And again, that's based on stories that they still believe about what it's like to be awake. So what I'm suggesting for you is that you just be ready to recognize any moments where you feel like this is it, and just watch that, how your perspective on things change, even if it only lasts for a very short period of time, because it will
Then
come.
say that.
Yeah.
Say that again, will you? Because my mind started distracting me when you were saying that.
Yeah. Okay. I was a bit long-winded about it. What I'm saying is that the only thing that's missing for you is a recognition that, well, a belief that this is it. Right? All the rest of it, everything that's based on is still there, but that isn't there for some reason. And that's because you have other beliefs that contradict it. You have the belief about how it should be, or whatever your expectations are. But regardless of why, the belief that this is it isn't there, but you probably have a belief about that when it comes, it will be there permanently, that it will be a turning point in your life. And when you do get this is it as a belief, that it will always be there. Well, I'm telling you, it probably won't always be there, because people who do get that frequently then get visited by doubt at some point afterwards.
Yeah, and what you just said, like as you were saying, I don't necessarily want the belief this is it. That's again just another belief or thought or something to hook onto. So that's not what I want. But yeah, maybe it's the absence of the doubt.
Yeah. Well, that's a belief. Let's not put beliefs down. Remember what I said earlier. Life is all about beliefs. There is no getting away from them. Stories are what run the whole show. It's just that my stories are better than your stories about things. I mean, that really brings it down, doesn't it? Now, what a bummer that is, it's all about beliefs. Wow. But it is. Somebody who's awake believes they're awake. Somebody who believes they're not awake isn't awake. I wouldn't mind being shot down about that one, but that's the way I see it. Tell you what, I could have a whole lot of non-duality people jump all over me for that one. You respond to stories all day, every day. That's what happens. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me I'm wrong. Everybody does. That's pretty mundane though, isn't it? Where's the magic in that? God, how ordinary.
Yeah, this is what did it for me, Dennis. Exactly this. Whereas I had two things. Do I want to be awake, or do I want to see through the sense of self?
Yeah, it's B. I want B.
Yeah. And therefore, can you see that now? Because as a caveat, awake is just another thought.
Yes. Oh, that's another downer.
Yeah, that's interesting, John, because can you see through the sense of self? And my mind is trying to wrap its head around that. I can't even understand it.
No, you were talking about it before. Everyone is saying it, everyone saw it. Do you see the decider of your thoughts? Do you see the thinker of your thoughts? Do you see the control of his thoughts? What's your answer?
No, you brought me back to no, I don't, but I still believe there is something there.
Because you want to be awake. It's that whole thing about Vince's metaphor where you open up a fridge and you're looking for a watermelon. There's no watermelon. You close the fridge and you still believe a watermelon's inside.
Well, it's like what believes there's a self? What believing there's a self?
What do you feel yourself as now, then? So it's not a thought, then what is it now?
Feels like a looking, and I'm labeling again, which
That's okay. So the looking is you. Is that your thought? No, is that what you mean?
yeah.
Is the looking you? I think this is Tyler's realm. Do you want to take it away?
Can you see the look in?
It feels now like a concept being looked at.
Who is looking at the concept of looking? Do you feel like you're the one looking at the concept of looking now?
It just feels ridiculous.
It is. Because you can see that now it looks like a concept, and you can see that it feels like you're looking at the concept.
But you're saying you can see, and that's reinforcing the idea that there's something knowing or looking.
Because otherwise, I can't talk. Can you see the seeing?
There's just seeing. You can't see the seeing because then you're something
No, but
separate from it.
you said there's just seeing. So you've seen it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to say that.
It's like I see, I notice.
How are they more than words? That's a logical conclusion. So what jumps up for me really big time here is this. There is this, what we call the absolute, and then there is the relative. Right? Now, let's take the example of a tree, right? That's a concept. Do you get that the tree is a concept? Right?
Yeah.
That what you're doing is you're describing what comes in through your senses, and you're putting a label on it. That's a concept we call a tree, right? Even if you go up and touch it, there is just the sense of touch. Or if you go up and look closely, there is the sense of seeing, right? But the concept is a tree. So let's say that there is something actual there. Now, this is a mental thing. We're mentally saying logically that we are seeing something. But when we examine it, all we can go is that there is actual seeing happening, right? That thing that we are seeing is purely a concept for us. But it does exist in reality, it seems. Now let's just presume it does actually exist. There is something there. But we don't know what it is. If we line up you and the dog and a frog, and you all look at the same tree, every one of you is going to see it using different frequencies of light, right? So you're all going to have a totally different concept of what it is you're seeing. So what is actually there is unknowable. It's unknowable to you because your senses are limited to certain light frequencies and sound frequencies and so on and so on. Right? So that's all you can take in. It's through your senses. So everything's filtered via your experience. So all of reality, from your point of view, all of your reality is what you experience, nothing more. And yours is different to every other person on the planet and every other animal and every other insect and everything. It's unique to you. That is your experience of the world. Nobody else has the same one. So we can say, yes, there is an absolute, and we can apply that to the body or to the brain or to whatever we can imagine about being a person. We can apply that. There is an absolute, but we have no idea what it is. We can't know it. It is beyond the ability of the human mind to comprehend what the absolute actually is that we're calling that. Right? Now, there may be a self involved in that. I don't know. But from a point of view of your experience, there is only experience. So if you're seeing something, let's imagine that you're really, really involved in seeing something, and what you've got coming in through your eyes, right, in the beginning is a sense of color and a sense of shape and a sense of form and a sense of texture and whatever else is coming in through your eyes. And when you get down to the really, really nitty gritty of it, it becomes impossible to describe it accurately. Words don't do the job, right? And here you are, totally involved in what's coming in through your eyes. And if you just then ask yourself the question, who's seeing it? You stop seeing it and you start imagining a self, a person. Or if the question comes, what is it you're seeing? Again, you stop seeing and you start imagining a concept of something, right? Because those things can only exist in your experience as a concept. The only actuality is the seeing itself. That is your experience. And it can't be described. It's way too complex to be described. Right? So the question, who is seeing it? is a ridiculous question. There is no answer. You cannot answer it. Your brain is not up to the task of describing the absolute, whatever that is. So it's irrelevant to you. Your only reality is what you experience. Now, where can you go from there? Stop asking ridiculous questions like who was seeing it.
I mean, and then even to say there is something, I mean, existence itself is a human concept. So I don't know, maybe it could be like, well, it appears, you know, it
Yeah.
appears in my
That's all I
perception.
can say. Yes.
That's all I can say. I can, well, yeah.
Dennis, after what Vince said, do you still feel like you see and you notice?
Well, there was seeing, and then there was the noticing of thoughts, trying to interpret the seeing.
Okay. Let me just challenge that, all right? So your belief is I notice or there's noticing, right? Okay, notice the sensation of your right foot. Okay, come back. Now, where was the noticing? Did you notice it? What was there?
Tingling. Noticing.
Right, when I said it, you felt the sensation. There was the
Yeah.
sensation.
Yeah.
Where was the noticing?
There's somehow there's distance from the noticing of the sensation and what's noticing.
Because you've got the sensation and you've got the memory of the sensation, and then you have the thought saying I noticed it. There was the noticing of it.
No, but right now there's sensation.
Okay, can you open your eyes and look at me? Okay, look at my face. Right, this is my face, Dennis. Can you see my face? Does anything
Yes.
about this image tell you though that you can see my face? Does the visual image carry the information that they're seeing? That you see this?
No.
So where is the seeing? Is there even seeing? There's just my fucking face, isn't there?
Yeah.
Did you notice my face? Maybe you have a memory that says you did, but can you notice my face in real time? Where's the noticing?
I don't know what you mean by noticing. I'm just seeing your face.
Okay, notice the towel in the background. Was there noticing? Was there noticing apart from the visual image of the towel?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. You pointed towards the towel. I looked at the towel, and you're asking me, do I notice it? I can just
Right,
see the towel.
of course you noticed it in, because we use words, right? Of course you noticed it in conventional speech, like you're aware of
Mm-hmm.
it. But does that actually mean anything? Does that point to anything you can experience? Like what actually happened in your experience? Image of towel. Where's the noticing?
Yeah, it's different than with the foot because it's like the foot noticing sets up a noticer in me. But when you said, look at my face and the towel, that didn't necessarily set up a noticer. It didn't create that someone looking.
So like 2 minutes ago there was someone looking and now there isn't, and then are you gonna carry on believing that there is? You even said it yourself. This foot thing set up a noticer. As if you watched the noticer being set up, being created.
Yeah, I'm just noticing thoughts now saying that.
Right, but are you noticing thoughts? Or are there just thoughts? Speaking strictly.
There's thoughts. I can't get my head around the fact that I'm not aware of them, that there's still somebody noticing thoughts.
But that's speculation, isn't it? That's a logical conclusion that you come to. Your experience is that thoughts are happening, full stop. And you extend that, you overwrite that, you add a post-it note to that that says, I am doing the noticing. I am having the thoughts. But that's additional to your experience, isn't it?
It's not I am having the thoughts, it's the thoughts are appearing and it's like they're reporting to me or they're in my experience.
Well, that's additional to your experience as well, isn't it? All you can say is that there is the experience of thoughts happening. That's accurate. Would you agree? And that
No,
anything else is additional.
there's the experience of thoughts you're saying. So there's the experience of thoughts, but experiencing implies an experiencer,
Well, forget
and
about
the thing
implication.
experience.
Implication is concept again. We're talking about what is actual for you. So if we dismiss any implication, anything that we come to a logical conclusion about, if we describe only the actual experience, can you say anything more than there is thought?
If see, I have to be here for there to be thought.
Now that's
Why?
a logical conclusion again. Purely logical conclusion. You can see that tree is a concept quite clearly, but you stand next to Joe Blow and tell him he's not looking at a tree, that he's just seeing colour, and he's going to argue, isn't he? He's going to argue in exactly the same way you're arguing. And you'll never convince him that he's wrong. He's definitely seeing a tree as far as he's concerned, but you know the tree is a concept, that what he's seeing is color and shape and form. And you know that even those are labels, don't you?
I don't know. I mean, I know the word tree is a concept that's trying to label something that's
Here's the difference.
there.
This is a big one. This is a really big one, right? You're saying you know that the word is a concept, a label that points to something. I'm saying that your experience of seeing it, when you say it is a tree that you're experiencing, that you are experiencing a concept. You are not experiencing what is actually out there. You're experiencing an image produced by your brain that you call tree. You're not seeing the actual tree, the actual things that you call a tree. You're not seeing that. You're seeing an image that's created by your brain, right? It's a logical conclusion that your brain has come to. And you're relating to that image. You're not relating to what's there in front of you. Now, that's a big one, isn't it? That's a really, really big one. And people who are not awake go through the world believing that all these concepts that they've got are the actual thing, and they're not. There's your difference. So that is a big thing. Yeah, you have got a way to go. Okay. Take that.
Dennis, stop looking for stuff that isn't here. Even when you said, oh, but there must be an I that all of this is reporting back to, and then we're like, shut up, you're making logical conclusions. Can you see that there is an I that all of this is reporting back to? Is a thought.
No, I imagine if I could see that, I'd be awake. I don't see that.
What else could it be?
What a bummer to realize that you're only a thought.
When you say there's an I that the experience must report back to, there isn't even an I that you're referring to. All there is a thought that there must be an I that experience reports back to.
Yeah, look, I'm not willing to believe what you say, that I don't exist or there's no I need to know that, or that has to fall away.
But we're not telling you to believe anything. We're not telling you anything. We're telling you to look at what's here.
You have to discover it. You can't just accept it. That won't happen.
You somehow believe that the content of your thought is happening in some real world, and it's not just content of thought.
It feels like I'm this empty space, or
Can you see an empty space? Can you touch an empty space? Did you just have a thought about an empty space?
yes. Yes. I was just thinking to myself, these are all thoughts.
It is going to feel like things because you're conditioned. Right? So when you do discover, when you recognize some of what we're talking about here, that a whole lot of what you take to be real is nothing more than a thought about it, it's going to feel pretty weird for you. There'll be that unfamiliarity of it. And it can be pretty disorienting. Some people describe it as a sense of falling backwards, falling, when that's finally what they've hung on to for their whole life as being real is seen to be not real. There's like nothing to grab a hold of anymore. Now, some people call that liberation. Other people call it going mad and panic. But it is a discovery. You can't force it, and you're certainly not going to get there by thinking about it. You have to discover it. So
Yeah, if you use the tree analogy, like, because I'm looking outside as we're talking, and because you're talking trees, and I'm looking out, and I'm seeing. Let's forget we label them trees. I'm seeing these things that are beautiful, that are moving in the wind. So I'm seeing something. I've been out there. I've touched them. I've watered them. So my
memory.
head's trying to. Yeah. So are you saying to me, like, you'll see eventually that they're not what I think they are?
Well, I don't know what you think they are, but I can imagine what they actually are to you at the moment are sensations that we call a visual input, right? And memory of when you were close to them, memory of when you smelled them, when you heard the wind in the leaves, whatever your experience of them was, when you watered them, right? And there was a feeling that you had about them when you were watering them. That all makes up what you now experience when you look out the window. So it's more than just a pure visual input. But
Yeah, I get that. I can follow now. There's
yeah.
visual, there's thoughts and memories and feelings.
Yeah.
Right now. So
So
what's happening right now is that.
The only thing that I really want you to appreciate right now is that to call it a tree is a social convenience that uses language.
Yeah.
But what your actual experience of it is what's coming in through your eyes and your memory and whatever that provokes. Your memory might provoke a certain feeling as well. So it's a lot more complex than just a pure visual input. But to simplify it, that's your main thing at the moment, is what you're seeing. And what you're seeing is movement and shape and color. And when we focus on those things and recognize that they are also labels, there is just this experience that comes in that can't be really described. It's way too complex and too subtle to be described. Right? And and for convenience sake, purely for convenience sake, we put a label tree on that. And if you're talking to somebody next to you and say, look at the tree, and they know what you're talking about, that's fine. And that's works well at that level. But the actuality from a point of view of your experience is there is just what's coming in through your eyes and your memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that the whole label that we put on it, whether we're putting a label on the color or the movement or the whole thing as a tree or a tree in the wind or a tree through the window, all of that is labels. All of that is an overlay on what the actual experience is. The actual experience is the only reality for you. The rest of it is conceptual for a useful purpose, but it is conceptual.
Yeah.
So you get all of that, right?
Yeah,
Now,
right now there's the complex experience of what we're labeling Vince happening.
yeah. So let's get a bit more radical with this. Does the back of your head exist for you in your experience right now?
No, I would have to have the thought of the back of my head,
Well, then it would
pull up
exist
an image.
as a thought, yeah. And if you
Yeah.
touched it with your fingertips, you would have a sensation, but it still wouldn't be the back of your head, would it? The back of the head is only a label that you can overlay on something that is just a sensation when you touch it, or just a thought when you think about it. So it doesn't exist for you in your experience until one of your senses is stimulated. And we can include in those senses your thoughts. Well, let's call it the sixth sense, because you respond to a thought in a similar way to the way you respond to any other sense input, sense stimulation. You have a reaction to it. Usually that reaction is more thoughts, maybe behavior. But regardless, there is a reaction to it. So it only exists theoretically until there is a sense stimulation. And that's when it becomes more than a concept. But up until that point, it's a concept. How do you know you've got a heart? How do you know you've got a liver? How do you know you've got any of your internal organs? You don't. Right? They're something you read about or something you heard about, but they don't exist for you in reality because they're not part of your sensory input. And even if they did, it would just be a label you'd put on them for convenience sake. Now, most of your world exists exactly like this. Most of your world exists at a conceptual level. That's what language is about. That's what society is about, with communicating and describing things with language is all conceptual. You don't know that the road outside your house actually exists at the moment. We could argue about it, but for you, it's not part of your actual experience right at this moment. Even if you heard a car drive along that road, you would only say, well, all there is sound. And then the overlay that says, oh, it must be a car on the road. That's conceptual.
So when I say to you, Vince, who are you talking to?
I've got no idea. I'm talking to a screen, maybe, but even that's a concept. But I've got no idea. I can say Dennis, but that's just my label for the concept about it. Am I talking? I don't know. I'm just hearing sounds come out of my mouth. Oh, well, I presume they're coming out of my mouth. I don't know where they're coming from. If I look at me, I see my mouth moving, but it's all concept. So it's a ridiculous question. Who am I talking to? Who is doing the talking? Another ridiculous question. They're unknowable, those things. They're part of the absolute, and I don't know about them. That's a bit like you telling me how many stars there are in the sky and what their relationship to each other is and what their names are and how long they've been in existence. And I go, oh, I'm not interested in that. Shut up. It's all a waste of time. Why would I bother to get involved in all of that? Well, most of the world operates at a level that I couldn't be bothered with. Let's stay with what's actual. Or at least let's recognize that what is actual and the rest is concept. Right? You sit in this, and you've heard me say this one before, you sit in the audience at the magician show and watch him saw a woman in half, and you don't call the ambulance or the police or jump up and tell him to stop. You know it's an illusion. but your senses are telling you that he's actually sawing a woman in half. Now, you don't believe your senses then, but you do believe the senses in all these other areas.
Well, it's really down to the sense of an I that I'm believing that I am.
Yeah. Well, so my question is, why is it important for you to continue to believe that? What happens if you stop believing in that I? Does your world fall apart? You're behaving like it does. You're hanging on to for dear life. You're clinging to that one like you're not going to let it go. God heavens, if there's no I, what happens?
Yeah, it's not even that it's a belief. It's before that. Like you're trying to get me to maybe see that it could be a belief, and I don't even know if I've got there yet. That it could be a belief. It's a fact to me.
There you go. You're deluded.
I was just reminded of your example of the tree somewhere, let's say in the north of Canada, falling, and then that there is actually no sound if there is not a sentient being hearing it, you know? And I found myself really puzzled with that because it's totally obvious because the sound doesn't exist just like this. It's produced in the ear and in the brain. But that really showed me that I'm so used to those mental images that I will even project them on a place where I'm not, you know? So it's like difficult for me to imagine that there is actually no sound, but it's like totally obvious on the other hand. So,
But on the other hand, what Vince is saying is on the contrary, that there is sound, but there is no one hearing it.
No, there's only air vibrating until something.
Oh, but there is sound.
No, there's no sound. It takes the mechanism of an ear, or we could set up a recorder, and a recorder would translate the vibrating air into something that could be heard. But until there's some
Someone
mechanism,
still needs to hear it.
yes,
Otherwise, the
somebody,
recorder will only produce air vibration.
yes.
This is this
Well, that's right.
implication.
Yes, it will. You're right. It will it'll even when we record on the sound, so the recorder will play back something that our ear will interpret as sound, or our ear will translate into a nerve signal, which will go to our brain, and there will be the production of the sound. Yes. Yeah.
If we are conscious.
Yes. Yes. If we're unconscious, we wouldn't hear the sound, would we? We wouldn't experience sound. Yeah.
You're both pointing to someone, to some I.
I'm just pointing to how Vince convolutes everything. Oh,
Just wanted
Vince, is there, I have a question. Is there anything actual? Or is it just a thought?
True. It is. But for practical purposes, we can take our experiencing as actual. But if we look at that, if we really examine that, then it becomes a different story. Yeah. But we don't need to go that far at the moment or with this. We just need to recognize that we are deluded about a whole lot of the things that we take as actual. Once we get that,
Oh, they're lovely. Can I have some more? Thank you.
I think it creates some expectation that when I am awakened, then I will see the actual, not the concept.
mm,
And I think there is no escape from concept.
no, that's right. You will still see
Mm.
the concept, but you will
Yeah.
recognize it as a concept.
Don't need to tell me what to do, darling. I'm driving. It's okay. Yeah, I'm driving, Jack. Oh, the convertible.
Mm.
Um, well, it's just that if everything is a thought, everything is thoughts, everything is in the mind, then only thoughts are relevant.
Mm.
If everything is a dream, then only the dream is relevant. There is nothing else.
So even the idea of relevant is a concept. So what are we
It's
talking about?
just a way to talk.
Yes, just a way to talk, yeah. But the ramifications of recognizing that a whole lot of what we take to be real is a concept changes our perspective, changes what we see, the way we see things. And that's when we're freed from suffering. Suffering is a result of taking. It's hard to make these general statements, but yeah, so taking concept to be real is where suffering happens.
Bianca, are you trying to say that even the senses are a thought?
Well, they are in the mind.
Well,
They
you
are
can't.
created by the mind. They are like image thoughts.
You've learned that they're created by the mind.
It's a double-edged sword here. That's true. That's true. You learn that. And so
Well, anything we say here, we've learned.
yes, everything. So you go, okay, well then, yeah, if the senses are also a thought, that's I believe that's true. The senses, the senses can only exist in the presence of thought. You see, that's not quite right either. Um,
You know, once in the meditation, I heard a sound, and for a while I didn't know, was it a sound? Was it real or was it in my mind? There was no difference.
that's right. Yeah, there's no difference.
There is no
It's
difference.
just a label
Yeah.
that I put. So there is no difference
Yeah, but
between senses and thoughts.
but from the perspective of what we're talking about here, whether it was in the mind or whether it was actual, it was still your experience. And that's the important thing. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It's a double-edged thing too. So for Dennis, for example, the concept of an I is something he experiences, but he experiences it because he's deluded.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
experience the
Dennis.
sense of I too.
Talking about meditation, actually, I didn't meditate for quite a while because at some point I noticed that I was meditating, like I was forcing myself to meditate every day to maintain awareness or something like this. So with a purpose. And then I really believed if I don't do this for a day, I will be super nervous or something. So somehow I just didn't do it anymore and nothing changed actually. And today, after a lot of time, I felt like, why not try a guided meditation on the internet again, but just for the fun of it? And it was actually a meditation where you were guided to focus on the sound, then also on the body sensations, and then also on the thoughts. But it got like, I don't know how it happened, but it was like I really could experience that the way the thoughts popped up was exactly the same way as the sounds or the sensations, you know? So I couldn't really put it into words, but it got kind of clear to me that it was all the same, actually, like the way it was appearing, at least.
Mm. Yeah. So for practical purposes with this kind of stuff, it's really a case of simply discriminate between what is your actual experience and what you think about your actual experience. Just discriminate between those two as a way of starting to differentiate. And then you will get a lot closer to what we're talking about.
I had an experience of that this week. It was when some friends arrived at my house, and it was as if they just suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and there they were. But there was no story about how did they get here and all of that. I was thinking, the thought arose, this is what it's like for an infant when their caregiver leaves the room and then appears. They just appear. There they are. But there's no thought about where they went or if they're ever coming back. It's just the happening of it, isn't it?
Yep. Exactly. It is just the sensory input. Nothing about that, just that.
Something that keeps coming up for Dennis, very simplistic, but would you say you put in a lot of trust in your mind to get this, to get something?
Yeah, and that resonates. There's definitely, but the way I would say it is the mind is trying to get this, understand this. Yeah. I'm sorry, my phone went dead a minute ago, guys. I just went.
So what if you didn't trust that? What if the mind can't get this ever? What if it's beyond the mind and you can't use the mind to get it? You can't rely on it. You can't trust it. You can't put faith in it, in thoughts. in mind. That would be a big disappointment, wouldn't it? If that's the tool you're using.
Yeah, to be honest, the honest answer is no. I mean, that's fine. I'd be happy. Like, that's fine if that's the way it is. Because the mind, again, feels like I'm aware of the mind, and it's still setting up this duality of the I. It feels like this fundamental belief in an I could be potentially a big part of the perceived problem.
But but you're putting your faith in the mind. What's the I? Who's telling you there's an I? There's a duality. What's telling you that? What's telling you there's an I and a duality, and it sets up this and that? What's saying that? What's giving you that information?
Well, for one, you're talking to me.
But does the
What's
sound?
giving you that information that I'm talking to you? What's giving you that? How do you know that?
Yeah, that's a concept. That's an idea.
But isn't everything of the mind? How can you trust the mind? How can you trust ideas? Have they worked for you before? Will taking notes, writing concepts, trusting ideas, thoughts, will it ever go anywhere other than round in circles? What's here without mind? Now, always. What doesn't move? What would be disappointing in that, oh, it's just that. All this time, just that. So simple.
And if it's just that, it's not knowable.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If it's not knowable, can you also experience something? So if not knowable also suggests that it'll be impossible to describe or explain, but would there be an experience of something, even if it's not knowable?
Yeah, you'd be experiencing the not knowableness of it,
So
the mystery.
when we talk about knowable, what we talk about is a conceptual overlay again, don't we?
Yeah, concepts, thoughts, ideas. Yeah, labeling feelings, labeling colors, objects, all that. Yeah, conceptual.
Mm.
So when you go away, and Dennis, the mind, is thinking, yeah, well, that's all right, but definitely Scott and Tyler. And I'll just check my notes because they did say something there that rang true for me, and I'll just look at that, and then I'll watch this, and the trust in the thought system, in the mind, to get you there, to get somewhere that's not here. And that trust in that little quiet voice that's going, and yeah, and I know they said that, but there's definitely an eye watching an eye, and what is that? You know, and do you understand what I mean? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, you know, yeah,
Dennis?
yeah, I do. Yeah, you're pointing straight at it, um, like we're having. It feels like thoughts are talking to thoughts here. Like, you know, I could say it takes a thorn to remove a thorn. So those activities are there for that. They're not wrong.
But the mind's learnt all these things, hasn't it? A thorn to remove a thorn, and these little conceptual ideas that we're meant to use to get the thorn out. But what would happen if you just totally lost trust in that mind? Well, what would be here then? If you lost trust, if you could say wanted, I'm awake, I'm not awake, oh, I had it and now I've lost it, and I had it yesterday and now I was near it. What would happen if you totally lost trust in that?
I want to say it's absolutely ludicrous that you believe in something that you can't see. And I think it's hilarious and absurd. Because if I told you there was a tiger in your room, you look around and you wouldn't see one, and you tell me you're full of shit because I don't see a tiger. And then whenever we tell you to look for the eye, you don't find it, you don't see one. But then you're like, but there must be one.
It seems like there's one because you trust in the thoughts that are assuming that there's one. So it will seem like there's one if you have that trust.
Yeah, but even without thoughts, there's a. I was going to say there's a sense of a center here, but I just need to check now again whether that's actually the case.
Yep, a good one. Okay. Well, I suspect that we've given you so much stuff tonight, Dennis, that you're going to go around and you're going to be going, is that really a chair or do I just think it is?
I need to lie down.
What is a center?
So you may well be primed for some kind of discovery over the next day or two. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
I guess I'm in the same place. So I also sense this here, just here.
But what tells you here?
I sense it here.
With which sense?
I don't know.
That's
Who
what I need to
says
look at.
there are only 5 senses? Maybe
And it
there is
doesn't
some
seem to be in
other
any
sense.
of them. It doesn't seem to be in any of them. So what else is there? Come on, guys.
Maybe there is some other sense.
Yeah, maybe there is. And then,
Or
but
maybe
maybe
you're
there is
leaving
the
us some
thought that maybe
thought.
there is.
Yeah,
You have
I
to
need
be
to look, but it
conscious.
feels like it's where all the senses report to.
Okay, look for it. Yeah, do that in your own time. Have fun looking for it.
Yep. Okay, guys, it's after midnight here. So I'm gonna pull the plug. Yeah.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's so valuable. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.
You too.
Bye. Lots of love.